Shalom, shalom, Chevra. I'm here today with Rabbi Raz Hartman, who was born in Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, began as a musician at age 6, all the way through college at USC, where he studied music and got much deeper into his Jewish spiritual path. Having met Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, he continued to be connected to music, creating new Jewish music, and learning in yeshiva of Bat Ayin, where he eventually received smicha. Since then, Rabbi Raz has been teaching and also led the Ve'ani Tefillah community in Nachlaot, Yerushalayim, for many years. He now continues to teach and be involved with writing and music in Jerusalem. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk today.
Yeah, I'm very happy to speak with you today.
Thank you. So just to start at the beginning, I mean, we're in a world of chaos right now. Let's just pick one element of that, a pandemic, which is not only physically a world of turmoil, of public health and of fear, of pain, but also psychologically has a whole other element to it. I wonder how you're reflecting on this current moment.
So I'll tell you, it kind of, brings up for me several things, but I'll speak about two of them. One is, we're used to, our life is usually based on a certain sense of stability that we can hold on to. And whenever those things, that's kind of shaken up, whether that's physically or otherwise, we get a little, besides the fear part, which I want to talk in a moment, but we get, unsettled and more than unsettled when it's on this kind of level, both on the physical body level, of who knows if, when someone's going to get sick, how, and also on the level of social structures, and and chaos is usually seen as something negative. It's like, okay, that means something went wrong, something is going wrong. But one of my thoughts, and it's been here since the beginning since it became a pandemic, and it wasn't just some story over in China, is that chaos is also a prelude to something new. It always is. One of my deepest teachers, Rav Avram Yitzchak Cohen Cook, who I've received a lot of, I still receive a lot from, and he once said, redemption always starts with chaos, because whatever was kind of needs to break apart in order to have something new. And whether or not that's premeditated or if it just happens, whenever these things come up, one of my thoughts is, okay, so let's think where we're supposed to go with this. What parts of our society, our personal, life can change, which might give us a healthier, and I say healthier on all the levels, a healthier kind of being. And that's one thought I've had all the way through, and I don't always have answers. I think it's so global now and huge that it's hard to have answers. But on a personal level, over here, for example, in Israel, just having needed to go in for a while to our homes and just be at home, that opens up a whole new way of being spiritually, a way of being. And the other element that I'm thinking a lot of is people's fear. Fear is very, very strong fear of, what's going to be physically, what's going to be financially, what's going to be, on a lot of other levels. And fear is an experience, and we have to learn what to do with it, because fear is also a gift. It tells me where I feel weak, and it also tells me, what's important to me, because things that are not important to me, I'm not so afraid about. And so those are kind of questions that I feel like right now it's a time for real deep spiritual questioning.
Yeah.
And that's good. That part's good.
Yeah. So thank you for that. Let's zoom out to the meta question of political turmoil. When I think about theodicy, I oftentimes think of it as there's the human evils, the evils that humans are capable of, and then there's natural evils, which are kind of in some ways harder to explain, within the realm of divinity. Because by humans, we might say something like there's free will, humans can do that. But by natural evils, how do we understand what a Kadosh Baruch Hu is doing over there? So I don't want to make the mistake of thinking of the pandemic as purely a natural evil. There's human responsibility there. But let's call that public health issue something beyond us to some degree. But the political issues, that's purely human construct. So how do you think about the turmoil now, in regards to what this is doing to us? I don't need to explain to you the turmoil that's happening over there in the Holy Land. I don't need to explain to you the turmoil that's happening over here in the less Holy Land, but equally holy because there's human beings here and godliness here too. But I wonder, like, how are you making sense of this, or are you just avoiding it?
Well, no, I'm not avoiding it. I would say two things, and I'm going to start with what you're asking me on the human level. Just like I said before, I think political turmoil is a possible gift if we go somewhere better with it. In other words, okay, whenever there's turmoil, it means something needs to change. Whether it's, it can be on the level of just how people communicate with each other. It could be on the level of, policies. It could be on a lot of, it could be on the level of, okay, we need a whole new structure. There's different levels to but it means there needs to be a change because clearly what isn't working. It's causing, tension and strife and whatever. And so in that sense, it's again a gift. It's also very painful because, especially in a time like this where it's clear that there's something else going on that's not just political, it almost takes away the focus sometimes from some of the things that we really need to be focused on. So I feel that pain, and yet I also think, well, clearly, and it's not just in the United States, and it's not just in Israel, and it's not just in most places in the country, something needs to change, and it needs to change in the relationship between leaders and people. It needs to be the way that people feel empowered to change things, or they feel like, oh, well, it's all coming from on top, or those are the kinds of things that we need to, again, I think it's a good time for asking questions now. And also maybe some of the answers are along those lines. Now, you made it a statement that it's a human construct. I'm not 100% sure that all the things that happen politically aren't also some kind, I look at history sometimes and I think, well, that's not just people.
Right.
There's something going on that I want to learn from also. 200 years ago with the whole Industrial Revolution, that was a new thing. 100 years ago, I don't know, when awareness of individual empowerment came, look what's changed in the world in the last 3 months. It was a totally global world. I mean, people still have that on the internet, but the truth is, it's kind of changed now. And maybe that's because we need a little bit of a focus inward again. And hey, wait, what do you need to work on? Forget about what's going on over there in the Middle East or the East what about in your space? Yeah. So I'm not 100% sure it's all purely from below. Sometimes we need to learn from how things are happening and say, oh, I guess maybe God is saying, look at this,
Yeah, well, to use my words there, not yours, just in the attempt to not speak for you, it's almost like I think of sometimes psak halacha it's not hashgacha involved, but the meta evolution of halacha, as I understand Rav Kook talking about it, has a hashgacha to it. So too, like individual political acts might not be hashgacha pratis, but the broader thrust of how it's moving to some degree. So I agree with you that I oversimplified by putting the political realm into that.
And I just want to say into that what's important to me in that is again, what do I learn from that? If the world is all of a sudden moved, people aren't flying all over the world. Okay, well, God's saying something with that, both on the what do you call it, ecological sense of it, and also on the political or spirit, or societal level of that. So that's why it's interesting to me to say it's not just human, because I want to learn what, if I'm being taught something, I'd like to learn it.
Yeah, beautiful. So, okay, don't hold me to it, but I think my last question is just how your Torah learning or tefillah feels different at a time like this. And maybe there's even a little Torah idea or a tefillah inspiration you want to leave us with in this regard.
Well, I'll say on one level, it's not changed that much because I'm always feeling like my tefillah at least is for always for the world to change for the better. So, I mean, that's still true now, although maybe the details of it have changed. What I would say, first of all, for I'm sure all over there by you and also by me, a lot of the last few months have been, or at least some of it hasn't been face to face. Where I'm used to teaching face to face and learning face to face with people, and this kind of communication is on one hand a gift because look, we're thousands of miles away and we're talking. On the other hand, it's very, very difficult to feel completely close. So it's been a challenge, learning and teaching. It's been a blessing to connect to people in a lot of broader ways, which I would not have. And I'm also feeling that to get to your question on a deeper level, it's kind of focusing, why are we learning and praying? Because now there seems to be, and whether, I don't have an answer to this, I have a question, but there seems to be some kind of direction it needs to go and change that needs to happen. And that to me is like, okay, well, I definitely want to be praying on that level. What does the world need? What do people need? What do people need from me? If I can't teach over in this place and I can teach in this new way, well, then that means the need is new. And what kind of Torah is necessary for the world? Torah is eternal, but at the same time, its expression changes all the time based on what the situation is. I want to share one teaching that from the beginning of this, like 4 months ago, it came to my mind, and I thought, I really want to put it out to the whole world, and I haven't done anything like that. But Rav Kook, that we mentioned before, I'm happy he's here with us in our little conversation. Rav Kook says he has a whole piece called "The Freedom from the Fear of Death," and it's a whole piece about how the world often is running away from death, and the only way to really actualize that is to really focus life on what life was really about. And then sort of death becomes just a part of the whole story and not something that's sort of threatening me that's going to take away. And in the end, my life becomes so empty because I'm just running away from dying. And one of just the one kernel thing that he says there is basically the core of life is something that is not defined by our physical reality. It's our soul, and it's not just our personal soul. It's like there's a world and there's God and our relationship with God. And when I can focus my life around that, death is yet another expression of that. Now, I'm not there personally, but I'm saying it became to me, if we could let go, you see, because everybody's so freaked out because I don't know how I'm going to live, whether I'm financially or physically or my country, and on a certain level, if I could let go of that fear and realize, wait, there's an essence to life, and I want to live by that essence in whatever form it takes now. My fear then dissipates because I'm focused on my life, and I oversimplified it. It's in one line. It's a long piece, but I feel very much that that's a very deep thing we need. And I'll just share something from my main teacher, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, and one of the things he says about fear is that my fear is really in the heart, and we need all to work on our heart to be strong. It's a time you have to be strong. If you're not strong, you're gonna. And strong doesn't mean strong physically, like I can win out, or my opinion gets carried, or we're gonna win the vote, or whatever. I know there's lots of elections going on all over the world, but more like I'm strong because I'm with the one, and he, or however you want to say, she, whoever it is, God is with me, and therefore I can go through the whole journey. And that's the kind of strength that I want to bless us all to have, be able to go through this journey, because it's a journey and nobody knows what's going to be at the end. I'm talking 2 months from now. I'm not talking, 10 years. So nobody knows. And so we really need a lot of strength to go through that. And that's what I'm really praying for me and for you and for all of us.
Amen. Amen. So I don't want to oversimplify, but one idea that I think I heard both in the Rav Kook and the Rabbi Nachman is that we're not squashing the fear, fighting it, pushing it away. We're actually just redirecting our energy, our focus onto what matters most, such that it weakens its hold upon us. Is that the direction?
Yes, and I would add, then the fear becomes an experience and not a value. It's we have pain and fear, and all these are experiences we have.
Yeah.
We attach a certain value to them, and then they become all threatening. It's like, okay, I went through it. We went through it.
Yeah.
We'll look back at this time, and please God, we'll be able to see each other face to face, and we'll talk about this conversation we had, and we'll say, oh, the world's a different place now. Please God.
Beautiful. Friends, make sure to check out Rabbi Raz Hartman next time in Yerushalayim. Thank you so much.
Okay.